Okay, so I'm going to talk about Boxie, the story-gathering robot, aka known as Needy Robotics. What happens when technology needs you? Interesting question. Hope to dive into that a bit. There are a lot of difficult problems in robotics, like locomotion, how to get a robot up and down stairs, how to get a robot into an elevator, location, like mapping out how to get around all you people to get to the door, things like power, battery size, intelligence, and costs are difficult things that people are looking at. And there are a lot of difficult problems in interaction design, like capture, how to bring someone into a system to make them use it, retention, how to keep them there so they keep using it, and effort. If you have a really difficult task you want the person to do, how do you make them do that without getting annoyed? So to kind of sidestep all these hard problems, we developed a robot called Boxie who would go around and ask people for help to complete its goals. Hopefully you can hear a little bit.
I need help. If you can help me, press the green button on the side of my head.
So we did this by using cuteness. And you can see two prime examples on the top. And by looking at things like large eyes and a big head and the mathematical proportions of everything, we actually can build a robot that uses cuteness at a mathematical level. We went through a lot of chassis design iterations. The left one is supposed to be the final one, but I think everyone can agree that's sort of freaky. The one on the right was one of the renderings that we were going through, just sort of weird looking. But we knew what we had when we found it. And the material was very important. So we went actually backwards to cardboard because it was very friendly and familiar and sort of soft, even though it was hard. And it had some nice properties like you could hit it pretty hard and it would just sort of bend instead of breaking like plastic.
Can you put me on the table or help me so I can see you?
So the robot asked specifically for help. These are some of the questions it asks. Like, I'm pretty curious, can you show me around? And that does something like, the robot can't get around much on its own, so you have to pick it up and bring it around. We did this by using a minimal amount of sensors. Mostly they were used for finding things. There was one on the bottom that's a body heat sensor, so the main thing was the robot wanted to find people, not so much use the sensors for mapping, so by measuring body heat we can tell when you found someone. And we actually use the sensors to do things that you generally don't want to do with robotics, which is like get lost and become stuck and act very confused. But these were the attributes we wanted people to see so they understood that the robot needed their help. You can see it's stuck there. Unfortunately, some people didn't like the robot. There was a pretty interesting split. On the top, you can see G-forces, and people who liked the robot sort of held it gently, and people who didn't like the robot batted it around, and we found that as data here. And the system was successful. We measured that by generating a documentary, so it interviewed the people it found. It made it to almost every part of the building, and there was a significant number of interactions to create that output. And there'll be a little clip after this.
What is your name?
Aaron. Benjamin. Agnes. Santiago. Siggy. Star. Asa.
So these all, of course, from the view of the robot. There's no human behind the camera here.
My name is Henry. Vincent.
Celine.
After this, I wanted to take the investigation a little further, so I built these two robots for a show called Artbots in Ghent, Belgium, and they have two separate personalities. Nathan's sort of very cranky, and one is a little nicer.
I'm having a horrible time.
As Nathan said, I'm having a horrible time, and he'd do things like try to get away from people and not really interact with them, and if you helped it, he would be very mad at you, sort of like Marvin, you know, kind of the attitude you can think of.
Smiling is my favorite.
That's one saying smiling is my favorite. Did all sorts of things like, I'm very happy to be here, everything's wonderful. And people were a little weary of the happy one and seemed to like the more depressed one, so it was an interesting split between the two.
What is so great about Belgium?
Yeah, there you go. It's probably hard to hear this, but left is Nathan, right is Boxie, so there's 42 hours of video from these robots right now that I'm going through, but sometimes they meet each other, sometimes they don't. Takeaway from this is when you're building a system that wants to use people to complete its goals, don't be annoying, respect their wishes, be compelling, and make your goals known so you're not creepy, and move along if people don't want you, so just sort of get out of the way. And of course, you need an ultimate test with these sort of systems to see if people are really, really engaged with it, and this is our final test. If you dance for the robot, I think we're successful. If you couldn't hear the videos, you can visit my website and see some more. Thank you.